So, here is what happened this week, and I need you to understand the full weight of it. Federal investigators showed up at Darlene Hamlet's home. They sat down with Lynette's mother, with Lynette's daughter, Carly, with Lynette's father, and they collected DNA samples from all three of them. Now, there is only one reason you do that. You collect DNA from a victim's family when you believe you are about to find something that needs to be identified. When you believe the search you are about to conduct is going to produce remains, and you want to be ready right there on the ground, in the moment, to confirm whose remains they are. Per CBS News, investigators believe GPS information extracted from at least one of Brian Hooker's electronic devices has identified previously unsearched areas where divers should now look for additional evidence, including Lynette Hooker's body. Including her body. Those are the words of a United States official, sourced to CBS News, not a theory, not a rumor. A federal official saying, "We believe those divers are going to find Lynette." And the divers are heading there now. For CNN, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has granted permission to the Coast Guard to send divers to a new area of the Sea of Abaco, an area Brian Hooker never mentioned to investigators. An area identified entirely by GPS data extracted from his own electronic devices. Data that contradicts his account of where he went and where Lynette is. This is where the investigation stands tonight. DNA collected, permission granted, divers heading to a location Brian never told anyone about, and a $33,000 thermal camera on his boat that he never once turned on to search for the wife he says he lost. Before we go any further, Brian Hooker has not been charged with any crime. His Bahamian attorney Terrell Butler declined to comment on the new search citing the ongoing investigation. For ABC News, Brian has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing in connection with his wife's disappearance. We state that through every section of this episode. Every time. Now, let us go through all of it. Okay, so I want to make sure everybody understands what the DNA collection means practically, because I think it has been reported as a footnote in some coverage, and it is not a footnote. It is one of the most significant procedural developments in this entire case. When law enforcement collects DNA from the family members of a missing person, they are not doing it as a precaution. They are not doing it just in case. They are doing it because they have a specific operational reason. They believe they are close to finding biological material, and they want the ability to make a positive identification immediately, without delay, while resources are still deployed in the field. Think about what that looks like on the ground. A dive team goes into the Sea of Abaco. They find something. The question immediately becomes, is this Lynette? To answer that question quickly, without having to fly samples back and wait weeks for results, you need reference DNA already collected and already in the system. Ready. Waiting. That is what Darlene's sample is for. That is what Carly's sample is for. That is what Lynette's father's sample is for. Per CBS News, family members confirmed that Coast Guard investigators asked them to provide DNA to assist in the investigation. 3 separate family members, all on the same day the dive permission was announced. That coordination is not coincidental. The DNA collection and the dive announcement happened together because they are part of the same operational sequence. Find, identify, confirm. And per CBS News, the rest of the evidence from this case continues to be processed by the FBI at their laboratory in Quantico, Virginia. The Quantico lab does not receive routine evidence. It receives evidence that requires the most sophisticated forensic analysis available in the United States government. The GPS data that led investigators to new search locations that came out of Quantico. That analysis is what sent the dive team to the Bahamas. Darlene Hamlet sat in her home in Michigan and gave a DNA sample, so that when those divers surface with something, she can know immediately whether it is her daughter. That is where this investigation is. That is what this family is living through right now. Now, let me walk you through the GPS data, because this is the engine of everything happening right now. For CBS News, GPS data derived from one of Brian Hooker's electronic devices showed a track of the device's movements that does not align with what he told investigators. The device was on the water, it stopped in the Sea of Abaco, and it came back to shore. Not drifting, not helpless, not being pushed by wind and current across 4 miles of open water in 9 hours. Stopping, deliberately, at a specific location, and returning. Per NBC Chicago, a United States official said that investigators were searching in the wrong area of the Sea of Abaco based on the information Brian Hooker originally provided. The wrong area. Brian told investigators where to look. And per federal analysis of his own GPS device, he sent them somewhere else entirely. Now think about what that means for the last 54 days. Every search effort that went to the area Brian described, every aerial grid search the Coast Guard flew, every volunteer hour, every resource deployed based on the information Brian gave, sent to the wrong place. And the right place, the area Brian's GPS device actually shows him stopping, is 25 feet deep. Per Fox News Digital, the new dive search will focus on waters reaching 25-foot depths in the Sea of Abaco, deep enough that aerial surveillance would not necessarily identify anything on the bottom, deep enough that you would need divers going to specific coordinates to find what is there. For ABC News, forensic evidence recovered from Brian Hooker's electronic devices has led investigators to new areas of interest that have not previously been searched. And per ABC News, one United States official confirmed that the information Hooker told investigators does not match the GPS data from his electronic devices. That is as official as it gets. A United States official, on record with the major national news outlet, saying Brian Hooker's own GPS data contradicts his statements to investigators. Brian has not been charged. His attorneys say he is innocent, but his GPS device recorded where he actually went. And where he actually went is not where he told anyone he went. So, the divers. Let me be precise about where things stand. Per CNN, confirmed by a United States official familiar with the investigation, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has granted permission to the Coast Guard to send divers to an area of the Sea of Abaco, which envelops Elbow Cay. The island Brian said they were sailing toward the night Lynette disappeared. Per Fox News Digital, the Bahamian government approved the United States to send a dive team to search a new area in the Sea of Abaco. The dive team will be tasked with finding Lynette's body or any new evidence. That is the mission, stated officially, from confirmed reporting. Finding Lynette's body or any new evidence at a location identified by Brian Hooker's own GPS data, in waters reaching 25 feet deep. Per News Nation, the Coast Guard confirmed it is conducting a new search after GPS data contradicted Brian Hooker's account of his wife's disappearance. The Coast Guard would not comment on the specifics of its investigation beyond that confirmation. Now, as of the latest confirmed public reporting, the dive operation has been approved and is being organized. The permission from the Bahamas is in hand. What we are waiting for is confirmation that the dive has begun and what, if anything, it produces. For former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker, who spoke to Fox News Digital, she made a point that is worth highlighting clearly. She said that although the incident occurred in the Bahamas, you still have to get permission from them. But it does not mean the suspect cannot be charged. The U.S.-flagged vessel, the American citizens involved, and the ongoing federal criminal investigation by CGS all create pathways to United States federal charges, regardless of where the underlying event took place. The dive goes in, the results come back, and those results, whatever they are, feed directly into a federal criminal investigation that is being led by CGS and supported by the FBI at Quantico. Now, here is the piece that I think is going to land hardest when people hear it clearly explained, because it has a very simple structure, and that simple structure has no good answer inside Brian's story. Per News Nation, Brian Hooker did not use the $33,000 high-tech thermal camera on his boat to search for Lynette the night she went missing. This was confirmed by a friend of the couple. $33,000. That is a FLIR thermal imaging system. It detects heat, specifically body heat, in complete darkness, in open water. at distance. It is the technology that search and rescue teams deploy when they are trying to find a living person or a body in dark water at night. It works by highlighting heat signatures that the human eye cannot see. It can track a body drifting in water automatically, without anyone manually operating it. That camera was on Soulmate, Brian's boat. The boat anchored approximately 1,000 yards from where he says Lynette went into the water. And per the friend of the couple who spoke to News Nation, Brian never activated it. Not that night. Not when he was brought back to Soulmate the following morning by fire and rescue. Not during the hour he spent below decks with the police officer while the search was still active and Lynette had been missing for fewer than 12 hours. Not ever. Now, Brian says he was desperate to find Lynette. He says he called out her name. He says he fired a flare. He says he threw a flotation cushion. He says after an hour of searching, he could not hear her anymore. He says he drifted for 9 hours. He says she is the love of his life and finding her is his sole focus. And there was a $33,000 thermal camera on his boat that could have detected her heat signature in the dark water. He never turned it on. For Fox News Digital, investigators are now working to extract data from devices aboard Soulmate, including an infrared camera that may contain additional clues. If that camera was running on the night of April the 4th, if it was recording heat signatures around the vessel in the hours after 7:30 in the evening, it may have captured things that Brian's story requires to have not happened. And CGS is working to find out right now. Let me spend a moment on the phrase that a United States official gave NBC Chicago, because I think it is the most consequential phrase in this entire investigation. The wrong area. Brian Hooker sent investigators to the wrong area of the Sea of Abaco. That is what a United States official said. Not that his account was unclear. Not that his account was inconsistent. The wrong area. The divers should have been somewhere else. The aerial searches should have covered different water. The resources should have been deployed to a different location. For 54 days, searches have been conducted in the wrong area because Brian Hooker told investigators where to look. And per the GPS data extracted from his own device, he knew that was the wrong area because his own device recorded him somewhere else. Think about what that means for the volunteers who have been searching. For Jim Todd and the Hopetown Volunteer Fire and Rescue Team, who launched before sunrise on Easter Sunday. For Nathan, who has spent weeks searching shorelines and filming terrain. For the Coast Guard planes that flew grid patterns over the Sea of Abaco. For everyone who trusted the information Brian provided. For NBC News, Brian Hooker's account caused investigators to search in the wrong area of the Sea of Abaco while they were looking for Lynette. His Bahamian attorney, Terrell Butler, declined to comment. And now the correct area, identified by his own GPS data, has been confirmed. Permission to search it has been granted, and the dive team is heading there. Now, while the dive operation is being organized in the Bahamas, there is a parallel forensic operation happening in the United States, and it is equally significant. Per Fox News Digital, a United States official familiar with the investigation confirmed that once Sultan is pulled from the water, it will be taken to a warehouse to be combed for clues. Not a marina, not a dock, a controlled, secure facility. Per former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker, speaking to Fox News Digital, any digital devices that can be taken, any computer systems that can be extracted, anything of that nature will be brought in as part of the forensic examination. Every tablet, every laptop, every navigation system, every phone, every device Brian Hooker networked onto that vessel. All of it will be in federal hands in a controlled environment. Soulmate has already been moved from Fort Pierce to Fort Lauderdale because authorities needed the equipment available there to haul the boat entirely out of the water. Once it comes out, the hull, the keel, every submerged surface that has been below the waterline since April the 4th, all of it becomes accessible to forensic investigators for the first time. And then the warehouse, where the environment is controlled. where the boat can be examined properly without weather, without public access, without anything compromising the evidence that is on it, where it can be preserved, potentially shrink-wrapped, for whatever legal proceedings follow this investigation. The boat Lynette funded with her own retirement savings, the boat she called home, the boat she sewed biminis for. That boat is becoming a forensic exhibit, and it is being treated with exactly the care that suggests federal investigators intend to use it in court. Now, I want to spend a section on Brian's behavior since April the 4th, because the GPS data is forensic evidence, but behavior is also evidence. And the pattern of what Brian has done and not done since Lynette disappeared tells a story of its own. He waited 14 hours to call Darlene. He called within minutes of the Bahamian police press release going public, not out of grief, not out of panic, because the news was about to come out anyway and he had no choice. He told Jim Todd from Hopetown Volunteer Fire and Rescue that he wanted to rent a boat to help search for Lynette. Jim Todd gave him the number. Brian never called it. The rental company confirmed they never heard from him. Per Fox News Digital, Blaine Stevenson told them that after spending about 3 to 4 hours searching with rescue officials, Brian returned to Soulmate and stayed there for roughly 24 hours without searching further. Per ABC News, Brian told national television cameras on April the 14th that his sole focus was finding Lynette, that he would not leave without her, that it would take a higher authority to make him stop. And then within hours of those interviews, he left the Bahamas. His attorney said he wanted to be with his terminally ill mother. He had a $33,000 thermal camera. He never used it. He told investigators where to look. Per a United States official, they were looking in the wrong area. And he has not called Darlene or Carly or Lynette's father in any meaningful way since the earliest days of the investigation. The man who says Lynette is his life, the man who says they belong to each other, has not been in contact with her family. Brian has not been charged. His attorneys say he is innocent, but each one of those things is a documented fact. And documented facts are what investigators build cases from. Now, before we close, I want to talk about the two people who matter most in this story, not the forensics, not the GPS data, not the investigation, the two people who wake up every morning without Lynette. Carly Aylesworth is 29 years old. She gave her DNA to federal investigators so that her mother can be identified when found. She has been the most consistent and publicly present voice demanding accountability in this case from day one. She sat through 2-hour interviews with CGS. She spoke to CNN, Fox News, ABC News, NBC News. She posted a Mother's Day video saying it is pretty hard right now to know that she is not a text away anymore. And she spent her birthday in the same week, without her mother, without a word from Brian. And Darlene Hamlet, Lynette's mother, who told her daughter not to go back, who was afraid of what was going to happen, who did everything she could, who gave her DNA so that her daughter can be identified, who wakes up in the middle of the night and cannot stop thinking, who is going to counseling trying to understand how any of this is real. Per ABC News, Darlene told them the family was in shock and continued to hope for clarity. She has been watching this investigation for 54 days. She has been waiting for the moment that gives her something to hold on to. The dive team heading into the Sea of Abaco right now, heading to the GPS coordinates from Brian's own device. That is the moment this investigation has been building towards since April the 5th. And Darlene and Carly have been right here every single day waiting for it. Okay, let me bring this all together. Investigators collected DNA from Lynette's mother, daughter, and father, 3 family members, all on the same day the dive permission was announced. Per CBS News, because investigators believe the GPS data has identified previously unsearched areas where divers should look for additional evidence, including Lynette Hooker's body. Per CNN, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has granted permission to the Coast Guard to send divers to a new area of the Sea of Abaco. Confirmed by a United States official, the permission is in hand. The dive team is heading to coordinates identified by Brian Hooker's own GPS data. Data that contradicts everything he told investigators about where he went and where Lynette is. For NBC Chicago and NBC News, a United States official confirmed that investigators were searching in the wrong area based on what Brian told them. His own GPS device recorded him somewhere else. Per CBS News, additional evidence continues to be processed by the FBI at their laboratory in Quantico. Per Fox News Digital, once Soulmate is pulled from the water, it will be taken to a warehouse to be fully examined. Per News Nation, Brian Hooker did not use the $33,000 thermal camera on his boat to search for Lynette the night she went missing. Brian Hooker has not been charged. His attorneys maintain his innocence. His Bahamian attorney declined to comment, citing the ongoing investigation. Those facts are true and they matter, and we say them every single time. And Lynette Hooker has been missing for 54 days. She was 55 years old. She loved the ocean. She chose it deliberately. She documented every beautiful and difficult part of it for the world to see. She called that boat her happy place. She sewed the biminis with her own hands. She ran with her daughter. She bought healing oil for her husband's nail fungus. She booked a plane ticket on March the 11th to leave and go home, and she never used it. The divers are heading to her likely location now, following coordinates from Brian's own device, in 25-foot deep water, in an area that Brian sent searchers away from for 54 days. Darlene's DNA is ready. Carly's DNA is ready. The identification can happen the moment the divers find something. We are going to be here for everything that follows. If you have any information at all about the night of April the 4th, about the vessel Azura or its crew, about any of the search areas, about anything connected to this case, please submit it through the CGSS Tips application. Anonymous, iOS and Android. The link is in the description. And please support Carly and Darlene. GoFundMe. Lynette Hooker missing in Bahamas. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because when those divers come up, you need to be here. Darlene, Carly, 54 days. We have not stopped. Not for a single day.